We are here today, and I have to put my glasses on to read the title, to discuss supporting the solo and small firm women practitioner. Honestly, we wondered why this was the title of this program. So we are here today to ask some of you, what kind of support do you need? But before we do that, and while you're thinking about that, we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Krisi Kastl. I'm a plaintiff's personal injury attorney from Dallas, Texas. I have my own law firm since June of 2006, mostly because men wouldn't pay me what I am worth. And quite frankly, they wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. So I now have 5 lawyers and 25 support staff, and I'm trying to stay smaller, not get larger. And I'm really glad to be here. And now I'll turn it over to Alfreda.
Good afternoon, everyone. I can't tell if it's working, is it? Okay, wonderful. I'm Alfreda Coward, and I have the pleasure of practicing with my sister, Kimberly Coward. Wave your hand over there, Kim. So we practiced together at Coward and Coward, PA. We started our firm back in 2004. It was an interesting start. I was a government attorney. I was working as a public defender, which I did for 8 years, and she was working at a small firm. But unfortunately, we lost our father that year. And my sister was at a firm. She took off 3 days. I took off 3 weeks. So with the 3 weeks, I went back to work. They were like, "Are you sure you're ready to be back?" And then my sister took off 3 days at the law firm, and they were like, "I mean, how much time do you need? I mean, how close were you and your father anyway?" So in response to that, our dad always wanted us to be lawyers and practice together. In response to that, I told Kim, we choose our own destiny. So we walk into walk into our path, whatever God had willed for us. And we started our own firm back in June of 2004. So we're still practicing. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, sunny Fort Lauderdale. Let me say that one more time. Sunny Fort Lauderdale, where the weather is indeed nice. We're a full practice firm, meaning we do general litigation. We don't do PI. We do family law. We do criminal law. We represent the city that we live in. We do some corporate representation, other municipality representation. Our passion is to represent children in any capacity: educational advocacy, abuse and neglect, criminal representation. So in addition to Coward and Coward, PA, in 2004, we also founded One Voice Children's Law Center. We represent the whole child and just trying to change the world one child at a time. So thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Whoa. So I am Mira Mdivani. I am from here, from Kansas City. So welcome to my hometown. My area of practice is business immigration law. It's not immigration, it's business immigration, which is very different and very specialized. We are a small firm, just 4 lawyers. And we don't understand what other immigration lawyers do, and they don't understand what we do. So, which is how I want it anyway. So our pro bono area so we serve businesses, basically. And our pro bono areas of expertise is assisting immigrant women and children who are survivors of domestic violence and other violent crimes. And that's the only other immigration that we do, but that's we don't get paid for that. And so we run a pro bono part of our practice that way. I am immediate past president of Kansas Bar Association, and also we share some pedigree as far as involvement in women bar associations. Before that, I was president of Kansas City Women Bar Association, Kansas Women Bar Association, and served on really interesting projects and worked on projects with women lawyers, which I think assisted me incredibly in my practice. All my good referrals to start my firm came from the women lawyers mostly that I did good things for the community for. And I have a question for you. Why are you here? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to learn? What bothers you? So raise your hand if you want to tell us. And if you don't, I'm also teaching at the law school. I'll do the lightning strike. Yes, yes. What's your name? And where are you from? Okay, we love that question. Thank you for asking that. Anybody else? Or we can go with that and then ask somebody else. So. Because I don't have.
Okay, so yeah, so when there's a question, we
have to
we need to repeat.
Oh.
If there's a question.
Can
we
you
need to
hear
repeat-
this?
No, we need to repeat the question so they can, so the
Okay.
audio can pick it up.
Thank you.
We don't want to be there.
Now, the beautiful thing is I will not remember what I just said. My, my question is, what advice would you offer for women who are not just beginning, probably mid-career, seeking to advance and grow in their career and, as a person?
So,
And then this one, no, it works, but to get the audience.
so, Alfreda, you want to answer?
Advice that we would give to, let me see. So I think the most important thing that you can apply it in our practices as well as our personal life is to know your worth. Oftentimes, most of our lives, we were taught to be more support to others than to be independent. And me and Kim was just joking about this today. People say our mom raised us way too independent, if there's such a thing. So you have to first know your worth, figure out what you want to do, figure out what you want to do, and then just do the best you can to make it happen. The easiest way to do that is to align yourself with women, like women in this room who are already doing it. So if we were to sit down, we're talking, I could tell you all the things, we could talk about the things, the loopholes or the holes that you need to jump over, the puddles you're going to have to get over, the challenges you're going to have to face, and then try to give you this, make sure you have the skills and give you the advice on how to overcome them. Depending on where you are, it may vary. The challenges are different in different places. For instance, some people, some communities are way more diverse. In other places, it just depends on, like, we live in South Florida. South Florida, embraces diversity completely. But now we just happen to live in a population where not so much. So now to have a woman firm or, an ethnically diverse firm is not popular. And so now we're facing new challenges that we weren't even facing, 5 years ago. So I would just say, figure out what it is that you want to do, align yourself with like-minded people, and don't let anybody, not anybody, tell you no and try to stop you. And I think when you have that level of confidence, when you walk into a room like you own it, people look at you and like, oh, she must be important. So if you own it, then they're going to own it too, ultimately.
That was really good advice. And I think that when I graduated law school in 1999, and I went to work, first off, when I interviewed, what a miserable experience. First semester, second year. All these men in all these gray and black suits, and who all thought they were better than me. And maybe they were, but I'll just tell you, it didn't make me feel good. And I had to wait tables while I was in law school, and I was serving them instead of going to the cocktail parties or the interviews with them, and they were even more rude. So I started law school really confident, and I finished law school not confident. And I went to go work for a law firm where there was a lot of men and a few women. And I thought I was doing what I needed to. I worked hard, I put my head down, I came in, the very first person in, the very last person out, and it got me almost nowhere. Except 7 years later, I realized I knew a whole heck of a lot more than most of the people I worked for. My bosses didn't know what I knew because I took the time to learn the law. I asked everybody the questions. But like Alfreda said, 7 years in, I found out for the second time that I was making far less than the men who were doing far less work than I was doing. When I questioned it at the first job, I was walked to the door with some BS story that I hadn't done my job well. At the second firm, when they tried to terminate me because my boss wanted my salary because things were getting lean in other departments, not my department, but others, I looked right at the main boss and I said, why are you terminating me? And he looked right at the guy that wanted my job and said, I don't know. And I stayed for a month. When the month was over, I had 5 job interviews with 5 firms with 5 offers. None of these men owned firms wanted to pay me what I was making at the firm where I was already getting grossly underpaid. So I took 3 cases that were my family or my friends, and I walked out the door. And what I did was exactly what you just told us to do. I aligned myself with friends. 3 of them are in this room right this minute. Audrey Moorhead, the Honorable Judge Audrey Moorhead, rode up the elevator with me this morning, said, well, you know why I'm here? And I said, no, why? She goes, so there's going to be somebody in the room after this is over to tell you did a good job. Because I know you aren't going to say you did a good job. So thank you, Judge Moorhead. The second person, and I'm going to make her stand up. Krisi Kastl, please stand up. This woman does not give herself enough credit because she is 90% of the reason I am sitting right here today. She taught me how to own a business. She gave me the confidence to start a business. She introduced me to people that gave me the confidence to stay in business. She stayed up with me until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, working on those horrendous family law cases that I did to begin with, but I don't know how you do it, Krisi Albano. But Krisi Albano has helped so many of us in so many ways, and she does it without seeking any recognition. So if you see or talk to Krisi Albano today, please make sure you tell her how she's influenced your life, because she does not know her worth and she needs to remember who she is. Sorry to embarrass you. And now the third person is Dr. Grace Albano, happens to be Kristi's mom. And she has become a really, really good friend over the years because she comes to Dallas at least once a year to see Kristi and Judge Moorhead perform in Barnett. So I've aligned myself with great women. And when I decided that it was time for a change, I kind of got pushed because being terminated twice was tough. And the first time I cried and was really upset and thought it was a failure. And the second time I said, I'm tired of this. And I went out and I did it better. Still faking it until I make it. But I'm the immediate past president of the Dallas Bar Association, a past president of the Dallas Women Lawyers Association, a past president of the Texas Women Lawyers Association, and found my 2 new best friends who I know will be hanging out and maybe with a couple of actual biological sisters in Florida and in Kansas City, because these are the kind of people I want to interact. People that are motivated to get involved. There's lots of help programs, like the Dallas Bar Association has a program for 7 to 15-year lawyers. It's called We Lead. If you want to apply for it and participate remotely, I'll see if I can make that happen. Or if Boston wants to start its own program, we can talk about that. But it introduces women to different areas or aspects of law practice, and it can help you meet the right kind of people to get you to the next level. So thanks.
So, I think this is great advice, and also if any of you would like to join and give advice, we will just give the microphone, because we are really peers here and we learn from each other. Specifically mid-career, so how many years out are you? Okay. Still here. I think that re-examining what you know and looking at this from the unorthodox point of view, maybe getting some people who are not your immediate friends or family or colleagues. I reach out normally to people who have similar firms in different areas of practice, and I invite them to breakfast or lunch, 3 of us, and we just talk business from how do they do it, and we learn from each other. That's one. Second, continuous business education. I cannot stress it enough that we don't have enough of it when we go to law school, because it's all law and very little, if any, business. But then we become business people. So I actually went back to Harvard and did a course in business innovation with Lake Christensen, and was shocked how it helped me synthesize what I was thinking about my business and our place.
Here started business in law.
Yeah.
Got a number of businesses.
Yeah.
So only
You know, when
a leader in this community, but as a. So talk a little bit about that and what that has fed to you being a better leader as owning a law firm.
I think I just am entrepreneurial, period. I can't not do silly things, and I get excited when things fall in place. And I was lucky that I was entrepreneurial before I was a lawyer, because then when I became a lawyer, I think it totally curbs our enthusiasm for business, because we're not supposed to solicit clients. We are not supposed to be appearing to be wanting to have clients. We are prohibited from selling. We are prohibited from doing what normal businesses lead with, which is sales and marketing. And instead, we're supposed to be this demure thing that is pretending that we don't need money. I think it stems from how the law profession evolved in the beginning. In Rome, for example, they were patricians, and they went to forum, and they defended clients for free because they came from noble, wealthy families, and it was not cool to charge clients. It wouldn't even occur to them. And I think those rules aspire in England, right? You were not supposed to be charging people money. It was a privilege to represent someone, and basically they were given speeches and were very important. And that's what we inherited in the rules of ethics. That anybody who is trying to do business is maligned as a ambulance chaser. That's what we deal with. I think it's getting a little better, and we were still in the clause of those rules. And I actually serve on the Board of Attorney Discipline for my state, and I advocate that we need to stop pretending that we are wealthy trust baby patricians who don't need the money. And we need to educate our law students on how to do business, and always have business professors as part of our education. So I would say mid-career, go to school, and not just go to lawyer school like that, but go to get some business education, some marketing education. We have an excellent presentation from, what's your name? Annette. I love what you were saying, and we all guess. Great. We need to be understanding what she's saying, not just in like a 1 hour presentation, but this needs to be in our blood. And should we be ethical? And yes. Should they be decorum? Yes. But we owe it to ourselves to understand how business works and actually do that. Do you have a marketing plan? Do you have a business plan? Another one is, do you have a finance plan? Raise your hand if you ever thought about your financial. How to finance your firm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Half of us, but most of us don't. If you go out there and start talking finance with law firm owners, especially solo and small, especially with women, you get blank stare. Like, what language are you talking about? So more education and more collaboration with like-minded folks. Anybody else?
So I'm glad. Oh, for the video. Okay. Hi. So we went to law school at similar times, and I always admired you. At that time, you may not remember that, but I absolutely remember and admired you from afar a little bit, with a little bit of intimidation, because I thought you were pretty cool. So, and I still think you're pretty cool. So my question, because I'm coming from this also as an entrepreneur in a bit of a different way, right? So you said that you went and took a class at Harvard, which maybe some of us, can or can't do. If you were to recommend for anyone who has a law practice or any other business, what would you say are some practical rubber hits the road types of courses or even classes or things that you feel helped you out a lot, or that you find you refer people to often regarding whatever it is, finances, accounting, business strategies? I'd be so interested.
So all of the above, strategy number one, because we work very hard and not necessarily knowing where it is that we are going. We just sort of, sometimes clients come in the door, we take them, we work it really, really hard, and we don't have a strategy, and we don't think a lot of times about, why am I taking this client? Is it helping me with achieving my business? What is my business goal? Do you guys know what your business goal is? That's my first question too, especially when I work with younger lawyers, and I love helping and also looking at people thrive. Like, what's your business goal? You know, what should your earnings be? So a lot of times people are like, what are you talking about? What should you take home after taxes, after all the expenses? Do you know, or is it whatever it ends up to be at the end of the year? Do you raise your hand if you know how much what your goal is to take home this year? Great, about half of us. The other half in the wagon, unless you're a judge, obviously you can't do anything about it, right? But so strategy number one. Second, of course, finance. How are you going to finance it? Because a lot of times, you know, the way I did it was by making mistakes, not taking any loans, not really thinking about cash flow and where the money is coming from, and just basically doing it by intuition and working really hard and not sleeping nights and marketing and selling like crazy in a guerrilla sort of way, guerrilla marketing sort of way. So finance, definitely. Marketing, of course. I'll take any marketing course. I would also go to, when I see a good salesperson, doesn't matter if it's at the store or it's at the business that we represent or just a friend, I'll go talk to them. I'll hang out with them and ask them how they do it, because we're not good salespeople, and we should be, because it's important. Those are the top three of my list. What about you, Alfreda?
I'll use this opportunity to make a plug for American Bar Association affiliations, because I learned a lot from CLEs and programs just here in the American Bar. So when we were in Young Lawyers Division, as well as the Young Lawyers Division, I was actually over a program about hanging your shingle straight out of law school. So I had to do a lot of research just for the Young Lawyers program. But even here in this division, solo small firm, there was a workshop on the proper way to bill, for instance, just your billing. Just, you know, I was a government lawyer for 8 years. Billing was just not my thing. I'm a servant naturally. And so I had to resist the urge to do stuff for cheap and free. And so to be able to learn in American Bar at the CLE about how to bill. Technology, I'm not very versed on technology. We always have these great programs on how we can grow our practices by using technology. But these are, you know, you register for the meeting, but you get all of this content that I found to be extremely helpful. You don't have to go take a class and don't have to go search online for the different varied free CLEs that may exist or paid CLEs. You can get it right here. So I learned a lot about building our practice just by attending ABA meetings that had relevant content on those subjects. And guess what? You get in leadership, then you can develop the content and make sure we find out we're covering things that we all need to learn from, personally as well as professionally. Obviously, we're here for professional stuff, but we know as women, we need to do the work-life balance stuff. So we need, you know, I needed that myself, quite frankly. I was meeting authors who wrote books on the subject. So I would say, you know, bar affiliation, get the CLE content that's relevant to what you need. I also want to say, go back to your network, the people you associate yourselves with. You know, we as lawyers hang together, but you should have, you know, you should have accountants in your network. When I have friends that are accountants, so when I need that kind of advice, I could get that for, you know, free or almost free. My sister and I didn't have a website. You have it served on a board with another person, and she did website, building. So you can get this, these resources. You can build relationships with these other professionals, and they'll give you the tools that you need to start your firm. And do so pretty, they'll be happy to help, just like my co-panel members have said, be more than happy to help. So I think ABA, as well as enlarge your territory with your network.
And I think knowing your worth, knowing who you are and where you're from, and being authentic go a long ways. I started my firm and I did the traditional black and gold. I did take my family's logo. We were in the State Fair and Carnival business, and there was a castle on the side of a truck that looked more like a fairy tale castle, but my last name is Kastl, Kastl, that is often misspelled, but it's pronounced just like Castle. So to be a lawyer and strong and tough, I decided to be a block castle. It was clip art. My first set of business cards, 500 of them, cost me $20, and they were black and gold. I was in practice from 2006 until about 2012. And I had a young woman who worked for me, and she said, "You need to make your logo pink." And I was like, "What?" And then I heard my friend's son, and he said, "You need to be like McDonald's, and you need to have a clean logo." So then I think we might have stolen from the Engineer Society, even though I paid him for my own logo. But we now have a pink castle that looks like the Society of Engineers, I think. But anyway, and we owned pink. Pink is not my favorite color. Red is, but pink is the color that no or very few men or very few law firms, especially in 2012, were embracing. So anytime I sponsor anything, and I sponsor almost everything, I go with pink. And I will just tell you, pink, persevering in pink, passionate in pink, prevailing in pink, whatever the heck you want to say, pink is working. Pretty in pink. There you go. Exactly. Powerful in pink. So we've got to work it all. So the thing is that I am girly. I mean, I'm the oldest of 7, the only girl, and I was the best boy my dad ever had until my brother said about 15. But the reality is, as I started remembering who I am and what I'm all about, and embracing the fact that I was a female-owned law firm.
So
And it helped.
It is so important what Krisi said, because the standard has been for thousands of years that a professional or a person to whom you go for advice or relief, legal relief, by definition is a male. We're just only beginning. This is not even 100 years of when, since when women are in a position to be lawyers, to give advice, to be the people who are relevant to the outcome. I personally think there's absolutely no better profession for women, even though it's difficult still, than being a lawyer, because it is the only profession in which men and women might tolerate a woman being in charge, and being a woman being the one who will sway the decision making on an issue in the room. And I am so happy to hear what Krisi is saying, because the standard needs to be continuously changed. The normalization that we have to be like men, and we have to be living in the same paradigm of masculinity, or else we will be continuously punished, needs to be changed. And we all need to work on, we can be whoever we want to be. If we want to be girly and pink or high heels, or if we want to not be that, it needs to be normal to be who we are. And there should be more of whatever it is that comes with being a woman. Is continuously, if we contribute to that, the norm hopefully will change. With that, I have a question. Yes.
I have a question that I'm trying to make more precise because it's very long in my head.
Wait, what is your name?
My name is Robin Ross. I own a small firm in Mountainside, New Jersey. And I'm actually the chair of the solo and small firm section for the New Jersey State Bar Association. So I am here on a little bit of espionage because we're planning our meeting and conference as well. So, so that's part of it, just to see what else everyone else is doing. But the reason that I wanted to come to this particular breakout is I was curious as to what I would do as an employer to support the women that work with me. And it's sometimes difficult to reconcile because I'm a business owner, right? So I want to make sure my business is thriving. I want to make sure I'm making money, but I also think it's very important culturally for the way that I'm running my firm that we support our women attorneys in the firm. So one example I'll give of this question, even this particular conference. So I had attorneys in my firm I wanted to bring with me. And most of them are saying, I can't leave my kids. I can't, leave the house for that period of time to be in Kansas City for 3 days. And part of that is outrageous to me because I think to myself, if your husband's boss said, I want you to come to a conference with me in Kansas City, I bet you his ass would be on a plane, but you can't. And that's not fair. But then the other part of me is saying, but I want to support the choices that you're making as a mom and as a wife and as whatever it is to choose not to come. So it's kind of hard to reconcile those two things. So I'm wondering if you have any advice about that as an employer.
This is a pet peeve of mine. My name is Joan Swartz. I'm from St. Louis. I've been on my own for 23 years. I've been practicing law for 37. Okay. I'm married. I have children. I had my children practicing law at a medium-sized firm, and I have a child that battled cancer while I was running my own firm, and we lost them. And let me tell you, what these women need to be doing is what I did. When I jumped off this cliff with my husband and we had these children together, I said, we are doing this together. And I'm going to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I'm one of those little girls who said at 7 she was going to be a lawyer. You're probably the same way. You read just like me. But I am up to here, and I mean this, up to here with women feeling like they are the people who raise children. Our children learn as much from their fathers as they do their mothers. And you know what they learned from me and what I learned? And I will tell you this story, not here and now, but what I learned my kids took from me practicing law is they were more impressed by their mom than their friends were by their moms. They're all my son's friends knew what I did for a living and wanted to talk to me about being a lawyer. And I only had sons. So think about that. What I know going forward, what I learned from this really horrific thing that happened to me is my example was as important as the moms who bake the cookies and send them to school. I was never that mom. You're going to really laugh. I never was a room mother. My husband was the room dad. And he loved it because all the room moms who want to compete with you and be like mean to you, he was the guy who came up with the games and Jim was like the dude. You know what I mean? But we did this as co-parents, and I don't understand young women not demanding that of their partners because your children get equal. They weigh their parents equally. And there's not something, it's like exactly what you said. He'd be on that plane coming. Jim knew I had to build a business, but he was in sales too. And so he never held me back from coming to meetings. He's here with me and he's like, oh no, this is the kind of thing you need to be doing. But he appreciated sales, right? But some of it is women internally. It's kind of what this whole panel's been saying, knowing your own worth and making sure everybody around you appreciates your worth.
Without it sounding judgmental to the person saying, I don't want to come because I need to take care of my kids.
Well, well,
how do I do that?
and in a gentle way, and I don't disagree. When my kids were little, this was a way bigger challenge, but I was active in Wild D when my kids were little. I was president of our local bar by the time I was 40. But I will say I made a point of, and I have like this posse of girlfriends. We planned the biggest Christmas party ever that still takes place for people in St. Louis, underprivileged in St. Louis. And what we did is we planned events where our kids could come, and they would come with us to do our pro bono stuff. They would come with us to do our community work. But I had a network. I had 5 girlfriends. We all wanted to do that because we had kids, and
I
we
would like to
couldn't
say
just
something,
do
then,
that
Kelly.
too.
I'd like to say something, Kelly. First of all, I do think, yeah, if you talk to anyone, they'll tell you how strong I am in my personality, and all the things that they identify as women as being, emotional and soft. I don't really have, almost any of that in my body. However, I completely understand those women, because I'm a country girl raised with country values, and we were taught that women had certain responsibilities. So I completely understand why women who feel that way, because that's how they've been, that's how they've learned their whole lives. But women in my circle, they will put their, they hold their practice in high priority, because we talk about we, the power of we. So to me, to be able to communicate as an employer, or even just a girlfriend, is to understand where the women may be coming from, understand their experiences, but then say, girl, just imagine what we could do. When we sit down talking about, well, imagine what we could do, the power we have. And then everybody gets excited. And then you get in the buy-in, not to go to a 3-day conference, you get in the buy-in to something bigger about what women can do. And then you think of that's the world you're building for your kids. So you're not choosing my kids or my practice. You're thinking you're building this world for your kids. One anecdote that I'll pass the mic. My 15-year-old son asked me about 2 months ago, I kid you not. He said, Mom, would you rather be a great parent or a great lawyer? Picking up from school. And I was like, because he always coming up with questions on my nerve. I was like, son, really, what are we doing today? He said, Mom, I read something, and it says you have to choose. Either you could be a great parent or a great lawyer. And he said, do you think you're a great lawyer? I said, oh, I know I'm a great lawyer, my confidence. He said, so then does that mean you're also willing to accept that you won't be a great parent? I said, no, what I'm willing to accept is whatever idiot who told you this on YouTube or whatever you read was just a fool. And you need to check your sources before you start accepting stuff as information. So I took that as a lesson to tell him, are you crazy? And then I showed him, and I started identifying, how we can do it all. And maybe then, of course, this probably wasn't appropriate since he's a boy. I was like, maybe men need to choose. Maybe they can only handle so much at a time. But women, we're able to run the world, so we could do it all. And I could show you better than I can tell you. So that is a challenge we have to face. And this was just 2 months ago. So we have to constantly deal with that issue. Kelly?
I kind of deal with that. I don't necessarily think I was raised like that, but I do think that is my value system. So I might be one of those employees of yours. Good thing I'm not. I run my own business. So I do what I want to do, but I am one of those people who has a value system. Is my value system of how I want to run my family. And what works for me, if you want to get your employees here, maybe if they have the same mindset that I have, is that I have an idea of what my schedule looks like. I know that I committed myself to the ABA, to GPSolo. I'm currently a diversity director. I know 4 times out of the year, there's an expectation of me. Now, if a 5th occasion arises and it could advance my career, but it also gets in the way of a football game for my kids, I'm gonna choose the football game because that's my value system. That's me. This doesn't mean I don't care about the advancement of my career because I'm very successful, but that may be how you can talk to your employees. Look, I have an expectation that maybe 1 or 2 of these events you come to a year, just as part of being, that gives them the opportunity to plan it out. There's no excuse for being unavailable. But sometimes when you're running a family and things like that, you just need to have it a part of your total schedule so their partner can get on board. Because that's important. Not all women say that it's their career first and their family first, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying that it doesn't work like that. There's a whole balance. And that is for me, that's how it is for me. So I very well could have been one of your employees like, I got to talk to the husband and I got to do this. And it has nothing to do with how I value your my work or anything else.
And I think that's so true because I've had lots of young female lawyers come work with me and they all think they can walk in the door and be me. And I had one time sit me down, well, I've got to quit because I need to spend more time with my child. And I said, no, you need to stop drinking till midnight. I mean, I didn't say that to her. I just was thinking it. But I think that, you know, I don't have kids and I will tell you that was not a choice I made. It's something that happened because I started working so much and because I wasn't going to get married and have 7 kids and have to rely on a man to support me. So I forewent that by accident. I think that we need to understand everybody's not us. And we can't have a whole bunch of us working for us. We need some people, and I have the best
Bingo.
setup right now.
Bingo.
Yeah, and I have the best setup right now because I have a lady who actually taught me how to practice law working for me. She loves to go to trial. And then I have a young woman, she's not young, she's my age, but she looks a lot younger. She does all our briefing and everybody's a little different. And I really said, here, go to this trucking seminar. I want you to go. I couldn't go because I had a conflict because of GPSolo in Fort Worth 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, at the end of September. I offered to pay for it. I told him to go. The older attorney, oh, it's too expensive. I'm not going to do that. The younger attorney, oh, I have to go to my son's. He's in a special school in a different state and I have to visit him. I understood why she didn't do it. I should have really talked to the older lawyer because she ended up going to a 3-day thing during work, taken away from actual work to do like the state bar, advanced personal injury, something. And it was cheaper, but you get what you pay for. So what I've learned is I don't ask that particular lawyer to do things after hours. I don't ask that particular lawyer to do galas, but if there's a lunch that I can have her go to, I send her. And if I really want her to go to a trucking seminar, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to register and I'm going to say, here, you're going. And she would. But when I gave her the opportunity to decide, she chose what she would do if she were making the decision. So I think we need to understand that being a mom and being the house mom is really important to some of us. And honestly, it was important to me for a long time to do certain things at my house, decorate for Christmas. My husband loves all that. My husband cooks. He doesn't cook what I would cook. He doesn't cook the way I would cook. So I take us out to dinner and he makes dinner. And there's part of me that thinks, oh, that's not the way it should be, but it's working for us right now. And it's okay. So I think as an employer, it's hard. Like, I think you should come in early and stay late if you're a young lawyer. But if you can get more done at home, right now, I just want you to be productive and not get a suit.
And I think that is brilliant and also goes to changing the stereotypes, the male driven stereotype of what a lawyer should be. A male lawyer could always go to wherever we want to send him to be, he was always available to be working after hours, to go to a conference, because there was a wife with the children staying at home. So that's no longer what we can be expecting from them. So there are 2 things that work for me in my very small firm. We have 4 lawyers, sometimes 5, but usually 4. So one of our most amazing, super duper crazy good lawyers is a woman with 5 children. And I hired her in 2004 and she kept having them. And she is married to a guy who is a lawyer. They went to law school together. She's just as brilliant as he is. In fact, she went to law school on a full scholarship, which tells you how smart she is, right? And but she was the one who was having the children and coming to me at some point and saying, I can't. I'm unable. I have these children, and one of the children was not well, especially that. So I had, because of her, I developed 2 principles on how to deal with that. First principle is what's the business goal? So I'm always thinking business first, right? So my business goal is to have to take care of clients. So even before pandemic, we figured out that she can work from home, that she can work at 2 o'clock in the morning if she wants to, that she can work in the car, on the phone with a client, in carpool with the freaking Barstow 3 hours in carpool. And she can do it however she wants to do it because she did not want to quit being a lawyer. She just needed accommodation. So we accommodated to what is normal now for lawyers. Back when we made sure that she had remote access at the house and so on. So super accommodation because doesn't go to the business goal. So and second is don't and second is the firm is a body that I don't particularly care about what each of the lawyers does. I care about here's what the firm needs to do. And then let's figure out between us how we have each other's back so that we serve the clients to their extreme satisfaction. And I think that then maybe then the lawyer I'm talking about will not be able to go to the conference, but she will want to. And then there's another third principle that I forgot about. But like yesterday, for example, there was a conference in Des Moines that one of our lawyers needed to speak at, and she got COVID because she went to freaking France for 2 weeks while we were working here. She came back even before she could make it to the office. She has a fever. She's like, okay, good, don't come to the office, right? And she's like, Mira, but I have a conference at 2 o'clock to speak at in Des Moines. So I'm like, who is available? Nobody's available. So I got in the car and I drove back and, drove to Des Moines, drove back, did 50-minute presentation, drove back. So because we're an organism and then everybody sort of buys in. If you don't buy in, you can't work at my firm because we have each other's back. And third, behavior is, enabling behavior is key to money. So one of the reasons this lawyer told me that she can't work at one of the child number 4 is that, Mira, it's too expensive for me to have childcare, and my husband is telling me that we spend more money than on me working. We spend more money on childcare than I make here. I'm like, okay, let's change that. So we looked at the numbers, and then we started paying her much more, so that conversation was not taking place anymore. So money speaks. And we need to enable women that work for us to be able to cover their expenses or, to show it to their partners that this is not a drain and I'm actually making enough money for us to be able to do that. So that's principle number 3. Enable, pay more than, the bare minimum to enable them. Because again, I'm not paying her because I'm kind. I'm paying her because my business goal is met that way.
Sherry, did you have a question?
I was gonna ask about the time. What time do we need to wrap up? I was trying to text you to get the answer, but.
The reception starts at 4:30.
All right, so I want to do one quick thing. We can do this quickly, but I want to do this because the chair, it specifically posed this question to us. And so we could share, you have to just quickly go around the room. We have the women to share some advice. If you can give one piece of advice to your law school self, that's what the chair at Hamilton charged us. You give one piece of advice to looking back over however many years, 10, Kim, don't leave. Don't try to walk away. If you could give yourself one piece of advice really quickly, what would you tell your law school self, knowing what you know now?
Wait, Henry Hamilton, you better say thank you to Alfreda.
Okay, yeah.
You're a boss.
What? Say that again?
You're a boss. If you devalue your work, so will your clients.
You define success for yourself, nobody else.
I'm a law student.
Don't let her out yet.
Open your own firm, because I didn't think I wanted to in law school, and here I am. So
So I only graduated in 2021, so I'm, yeah, just ahead of you. But I would say, yeah, don't wait, start the business plan now.
Don't be so worried because you can change careers anytime. Like you can change what you're doing anytime you're not married to it. You can change what you're doing, your practice area. Don't get so hung up on it. It's going to be okay.
I would say you don't have to be perfect because nobody is.
Own the wins and, don't feel bad about bragging on yourself a little bit.
I was a pharmacist, and when my children were in high school, I went to medical school. Yeah, that's my mom. She's a former pharmacist and physician, and didn't have any problem working. And well, I can't say didn't have any problem, but she did the work-life balance thing pretty well. Oh yes, and years later, I started my own private medical practice. So I would just say I should have done the MBA program here at UMKC. I had no interest in running a business, and I've run a business over 20 years. And so take those business classes because you never know when you're going to need them.
Well, I did have an MBA before I went to law school, but they were 10 years apart. So I don't know if I remember shit about what happened. Anyway, I don't even care about your little tape. So, so I'm on the Keep It Real crew. I would say don't feed into the work-life balance definition that you go to all these CLEs and trainings and they try to tell you what work-life balance should be, and you feel this pressure that you're not doing something, because at the end of the day, if you're doing 150% at one thing, invariably you're an epic fail somewhere else. If I'm at the office till 15 hours a day, then I'm not somewhere else. And so you might want to consider looking at work-life balance on a continuum. You're a great parent to a 18-year-old, but you were not a great parent today. When today maybe you were a little mediocre with the fish sticks, baby. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be all right. Like she said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Just be excellent. Be, like Krisi said, be transparent, be yourself, and do your best. At the end of the day, if you do that, all of those things will work together for your good, and be confident in that.
Be fearless. Just do it. Whatever it is that scares you, do it. Because it will be the most rewarding thing you do.
And I say just be true to yourself. Resist all the pressures to conform to what's normal. Walk out in that room, do exactly what you want to do. Don't be limited to that box they try to put us in. Just go out there and be you, be your best you. And we promise you that it will work to your good in the end.
Amen to that. I think you should really work to live, don't live to work. Because why do we go to work? So that we can have a life. And if you are working to your personal detriment, don't do it. But sometimes you got to work till 3 o'clock in the morning to get something done. So work-life balance depends on the day.
I have, so first of all, I don't know how I ended up in the middle of these amazing women who are all smart, and I'm so honored to be on this panel with you. So I have 3 things to say. 1, spend time thinking about what you want. We work so hard and we go so fast, but we don't think enough about what do I really want. Second of all, what she said, be fearless. And third, what she said, both of you, do what you want. Once you decide what you want, do it. It's going to hurt, but you're going to have a lot of fun. Much more fun than doing the other person's bidding.
Have fun. Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you.